And this is Monicah Kariuki, and I'm here with Audrey Pope, and she is a survivor of domestic violence. She's going to talk to us about her experiences. And so, Audrey, go ahead and introduce yourself again, because there's a few things I've left out. You're a mom, you're a wife, and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
I am Audrey Pope, saved. I am a wife. I am a mother of 2 teenagers. I am an entrepreneur. Yep, that's about sums it.
And fashion?
Yes. Okay, so I have just started a fashion line that is African infused clothing, called Extraordinary Design. So I'm just starting on that. I'm still crawling, making my way into walking. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so as we were talking earlier, just because people didn't hear us, we've come to a quieter place. So Audrey, tell us again, you got into an abusive relationship. How did you end up in that?
I met this wonderful gentleman at college. And in fact, I'm glad we restarted this because I remember, I think it was our first semester in school, and I see this guy, and the minute I see him, I tell my friend, that's my husband. Yes. Tall, handsome. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Sure enough, a few months later, that was in January. By October we started dating, and I think 5-6 months later, it's a summer, we're at a party, and we are at a friend's house party. That was the thing to do at the time. There's drinking, there's music, there's all this fun. So I quickly realized that, okay, we're not going to drive drunk. We are international students. That, the worst thing you can do is have a DUI. So I took the keys. We're driving his car. And when it came time to leave, that's when he got physical, and that was the very, very first time that he ever got physical. We'd been dating a while, and it surprised me, absolutely surprised me. He took my arm and twisted it behind my back. I was on the ground, on the pavement in the parking lot, so it was rough, but I thought, you know what? He's drunk, and I know somebody called the cops, and we had to take off quickly because I didn't want this to be a bad situation. So we all took off, and that was that. But I remember thinking to myself, that's not him. It's definitely not him. That's not the man I know.
Did you feel guilty, like you provoked him? I took the key. Taking the keys.
Yeah. So I'm like, I took the key. His thinking is already compromised because of the alcohol. So I don't think this is him. It's definitely not him. So that was my way of saying that's just a one-time thing. And then we continued dating. It never happened again until after we got married. That another incident happened.
But while you were dating, most abusers, they usually start abuse by isolating you. So while you were dating, other than that incident, did he ever, keep you to himself, or you cannot see other people, even girlfriends or anything like that?
No.
Was he ever verbally abusive?
Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. The way I kind of felt less of a human being was much later, and usually that's how they start, and all abusers are different. As I've come to speak to survivors and other victims, I have come to learn that everybody has their own tactic that works for them. But no, he didn't make me feel isolated or anything in the beginning, but with time, as I am abused, or if I have bruises or something, then I isolated myself because I then didn't want other people to know what's going on. So that bit I cannot put on him at all. I isolated myself because of my shame, and I didn't want people knowing what's going on. But he never once said, no, you can't hang out with your people.
Okay. So while you were dating, that first incident, you never shared it with anybody. No. You never told anybody this is what he did.
Other than the people who were there.
Friends, that's what I was going to say. People that were there, they saw that. Yeah, but nobody ever told you, hey, you need to leave him, he did this, or anything like that. Nothing.
Would you believe it? It was never discussed.
Really?
It's like it never happened. I think in our culture there's a shame to it, and it's their business. Don't get involved in their business. So no, never discussed it. There were many people who were there. I've never had a conversation with them about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went home.
Went home.
Gave him back the keys. And drove home. Did you guys talk to each other, or was it okay after that? You know, once you got home.
We didn't talk about it that day. I had my own place. He had his own place.
Okay.
So I think because after that incident, I went my own way. I think somebody gave me a ride. Yes, I was extremely upset. So I got a ride to my place. I don't know how he got home, you know. But when we met next, we had the discussion, and he's like, man, you know, one, I don't even remember it. And I believed him because he was inebriated. It's like, man, I'm sorry. And he was truly remorseful.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Let's bury that and move on. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So then this guy, tall, handsome guy, you know, nice to you and everything. You went ahead and got married.
We got married.
And then what happened?
And when I was pregnant with my son, I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but somehow I got pushed and I fell. We had an upstairs apartment. It was a townhouse, and I got pushed and I fell right by the stairs. Thank God I didn't tumble down the stairs, but that scared the living daylights out of me. I was like, you could have had us at that point. It's not just me. I was probably 4 or 5 months pregnant. So
he knew you were pregnant.
Yes, but again, there had been alcohol involved. So that scared me. That really scared me, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm pregnant now. There's no getting out of this, you know, in my mind. And he didn't. It wasn't a beat down. It was pushed me, and I fell, and yeah, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. Yeah, but yeah, that was the second incident, and this is years later. So I'm still not connecting the dots and saying it is his personality. No, this is another one-off situation.
Did you blame yourself again?
No, this particular situation, no, I did not blame myself. I actually didn't. I did not want to process what was going on. I completely blocked my mind from it. I know I didn't talk to him for a few days. There was a lot of tension in the house. But my mind would not allow me. I'm like, I am bringing a baby into this world. There's the conflict of, is this the world I want to bring him into? There's the conflict of, there's no turning back. It's not like a dress I can take back to the store. Right. So I have got to make peace with the fact that this is where I am right now. Wow. And that's where I was. And I was pretty young. Well, young is very relative. I think I was 23 years old.
That's young.
So I didn't share it with anybody either. So all this I am processing by myself. All these decisions I am making as a 23-year-old girl. And I did not want to tell anybody about it. Yeah.
Okay. So then the second incident happens, and then he apologizes again.
Yes.
You forgive him. Move on, have the baby, and then when did the third one happen, or what happens after that once the baby comes?
Baby comes and we're good for a while. I don't remember the third, the fourth, or the fifth incident, but it would now, it became a part of my life. It became, if he's upset, I start to walk on shells. I don't want to upset him. I don't want to trigger anything, as in, I have to play my part, so to say, of not triggering any episode. And I knew that if there was alcohol involved,
stay away.
Yes, let's all be quiet. Let's not upset him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all the time either, you know. So I was like, okay, just watch myself.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So this went on for about 13 and a half years before I finally said, this is it. And the way actually that I had finally had enough, it was not me, it was my son. There was a confrontation and he stepped in between us.
How old was he?
He was 11 or 12 years old at the time. 12. Stepped between us and he's like, no. He in his mind, he could protect me.
Oh.
And that's when it clicked that it is not my son's responsibility. Yes, and I think it all came down on me real hard because I realized I had failed them because I had exposed my kids to this, to the point where my little baby boy is protecting me. And that was, I even tear up when I think about it, but it was such a profound moment, and that was that. I was done. I had to get out of that situation. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned before that you broke your collarbone before.
Yes.
What how did that happen?
I'm laughing because it's one of those things where it became the norm, you know. I was in the I was in the study, and I think he was doing something, and I went in for something. I don't know what it was, but he ended up hitting me, and I fell on something, and I had ended up fracturing my collarbone. I'd also had my wrist. My wrist is messed up to date. I cannot lift anything heavy with my wrist. So I get every so often it comes back. So I know it's something I'll deal with for the rest of my life. Yeah, but my wrist. I think those are the only injuries that I remember. But yeah, I was hospitalized. I mean, I'd go to hospital. Be released, and it's so funny because, you know, at the hospital they will ask you, and
because they ask you, you know, like, how did you fall, you know, and because they're trying to figure out if you're in an abusive relationship. Did they ask you that?
Yeah.
And what did you say? Did you protect him?
I fell, I tripped, I ran the silliest things. I ran into the door, you know. I mean, there was always an excuse.
How did you explain the fracture?
I fell.
You were not pushed or anything?
No, I fell. I fell down the stairs.
And they didn't follow up?
No. And I think you can tell. They can tell because I am... You don't answer all the questions.
Right.
You're like, look, I already told you I fell. Can we move on from that?
Yeah.
If somebody had just fallen and it wasn't really... They would go into details. Man, this is what happened. I don't even understand how, but I slid... But no, I did not want to talk about it. I have given you the reason what, you know, as to the injury, and that's that. Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then, you had, you know, your light bulb goes off when your son comes in between you.
Yeah.
And what did you do after that?
I packed up my stuff, and I left. I had a trash bag.
Did you tell him you were gonna leave, or did you just do it on your own?
And
just leave?
No, I didn't. I didn't tell him. I just left. I packed the little stuff I had. All I took was a few clothes, my kids' clothes, and I moved into my cousin's house. Imagine me with my 2 kids moving into another family's home, you know, and she was kind enough. And at that point now, I had to open up about this. Of course, people had already started to speculate. There's no way you're running into a wall or something all the time. People had begun to...
eyes sometimes?
I'm really dark. I don't think I can have a black eye, but... No, I'd have injuries.
This could get swollen, you know. So, I mean, if you had, even if it was minor injuries, I think people would notice that you have some injuries. And did they ask you what is wrong, what happened, or like nobody suspected anything?
No, there's a time I'd been locked out of my house by my then husband. So I had to ask for help. So for someone to come pick me up because I was outside. So my cousins then now kind of found out what was going on, and yes, now at that point they were like, you need to leave, but I couldn't imagine being a single mom. I couldn't imagine being a divorced person. I couldn't imagine being the first one. There's no divorce in our family. No one had ever divorced. I, Audrey, was the first one in the entire family tree to divorce. I didn't want that to be... I didn't want to be the one, you know. I am, but I'm alive.
What did your mom say? Or did you share?
I didn't tell my mom.
Oh, wow.
The day I told her, she cried. She's like, "Why? You are not." And I'll speak in Swahili for just au kufukuzwa ukona kwenu. So basically, you were not chased from home, and you have your people. Why did you believe that you had to stay there? But in my mind, it's it's taboo to be divorced. In our culture, the woman holds the family together. In our culture, you go through hell and high water to keep your family together, you know. So I didn't think that they would understand. I didn't think they would.
So then once you tell your mom and she's telling you, you are not kicked out of our home.
Yeah.
You're still my child. You know, I mean, that makes me want to cry, you know, because here you are, you know, for years taking this beating from this man.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, because you wanted to, you know, to fit in, you know, in the society as not a divorced woman. But yet your family is telling you, we still love you.
Yeah.
You could have divorced. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, how did that make you feel?
I felt like I should have reached out. I felt like maybe had somebody intervened, it was my responsibility, first of all, to share my story. Yeah. But I also feel like had maybe somebody said, girl, you know, if I need you to know, you have permission. Right. And that's what I want to tell anybody who is going through this. You have permission to leave. I don't think we feel we have that permission. So I want to, anybody out there going through this, if you know anybody who is out there, I think we need to give people permission. It's okay. A broken marriage is not the end of the world. Exactly. Leaving your spouse is not the end of the world. It doesn't make you any less of a human being. In fact, it makes you stronger. Yeah. You're a stronger person to walk away from a situation like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know most women usually feel, you know, like how, just like you, how am I going to raise my children? You know, I'm going to be a single mother, and I probably do not have a good job, you know, things like that. While some people would feel, you know, I would rather go and I would rather do that and support my children, but, you know, I don't want my children to see this, and I don't want to be in this situation either. But how affected were your children? Because I think also too, when I started to you know, speak about domestic violence, there's something that, you know, got to me, that we never talk about children that got to witness. You know, I'm now thinking about your 11-year-old trying to protect you, you know, and I'm thinking my son would do the same thing, you know. And so how affected were your children?
They were really affected. And I didn't realize it. I was so focused on covering up what's going on, or just making it to the next day. It's so funny that before I get to how the kids were affected, let me go back just a little bit. We had conditioned the kids, or personally, I had conditioned the kids, no noise, no what. If they knew when voices start to get raised, they go to their rooms. As in, everyone was conditioned what to do to kind of diffuse a situation, get out of the way, you know.
Were they scared of daddy too?
When he raised his voice, yes, they were. They definitely were. They knew as things escalated where this was going. Yeah. But when we moved out and we started to get back on our feet, I noticed that my son would be very angry, extremely angry. And he'd even punch holes in the wall. And that's not his personality. If you meet him now, he's an 18-year-old, very well-adjusted kid. But then we had to get counseling. You know, I had to seek help for them. My daughter would go into her room and just shut the door. It was her thing. She became more introverted. She's now more alive and all. But they were affected. Their personalities, who they were, was definitely affected by this. And I regret to this day staying that long and exposing them to that, and them having to deal with the effects of it. I am responsible for that. That is a mistake that I made, and I take responsibility for it. Yeah.
So how do you encourage your children from here on? How do you tell your son, you know, you never lay your hands on a woman? And how do you tell your daughter, you never take a beating from a man? You know what I'm saying? You know, because like, how do you explain it to your children? Like, I took it, and now I know it was wrong. I shouldn't have, you know. So tell us how you talk to your children.
Immediately after we left, it was a conversation we really had to have, because they had to understand that we're no longer, you know, our family dynamic has changed. And as much as I wanted to protect them. I realized my opportunity of doing that was over. At this point, I have to be very honest with them. So we did have that conversation. This is the reason why this behavior is unacceptable, and I do not want you guys growing up and believing that this is acceptable. So it's a conversation we had often at that point, and it's like, you don't do this. Right. It is not right. There is a problem, and dad is going to seek help. It doesn't. I also had to be very careful for them to realize it doesn't define who he is. He has a problem. It's something that can be handled, but we are going to remove ourselves from the situation because we don't want, this is not normal. Right. This is not what I want for you guys. Yeah. So it's a conversation I up till today, I still have with them. Okay. And I thank God because I've since remarried, and they're able to see what a good husband is. They're able to see what a home should be, and I thank God for the situation I am in right now in comparison to where we've come from. Yeah.
So something else that I think we need to touch on. What did you do? Because even though you got out of the marriage, how do you separate your children from him? Or do you allow them to still continue having a relationship? It's still their dad anyway.
Yes.
So do you allow them to still continue having a relationship with their daddy, and then probably let them make that choice when they grow up, or even now? It's up to you. You know what he did. You could see everything. How do you balance that?
The breakdown in the relationship, the abuse was only directed at me.
Okay.
He never lay a finger on the kids. He loves those children with his life. As in, we were not a match. We did not marry the right people.
Okay.
So the whatever the stress of the relationship, if it came out in terms of the abuse, I cannot explain why it turned into an abusive relationship, but it was only directed at me. So he is the father of these children, and before when he was here, he's no longer in the country. He's moved to a different country. But when he was here, he saw his children. He interacted with them. He loves them. He loved them. It's still, there was never a time that I thought, I need to get my children away from him. Yeah. No, that was never the situation. It was just at me. Yeah.
Okay. Also, too, once you leave an abuser, they usually don't believe that you can actually go and be self-sufficient, and so because they have this thought that you can't be by yourself, you need them. So once you left, did he stalk you? Did he ask you to come back? What happened?
Now, when I finally left in 2011, that was not my first time to try and leave.
Oh.
So statistics show that an abused woman is going to try and leave at least 7 times.
Oh, wow.
And I think I fit in that. I think I probably tried to leave several times where I'll go off, go get my own little place, and then somehow still get drawn in because this is my family. I need to make this work, And he's very apologetic, and so I tried before. The 2011 is when I finally, it clicked that this isn't a separation. No. This needs to be a complete end to this. Yes. But I did try to leave before. And many women go through that. And I think there's a misunderstanding. People don't quite understand. The one thing that one question I hated so much when I was in that situation is people saying, how can you stay in a situation like this? And the one thing people don't realize is what that does. If you're in an abusive relationship, you're battling a self-esteem issue, right? There's this issue of I can't, whatever reason it is, I can't go. I will. This is as good as it's going to get. If you're in a situation where the abuser is verbally abusive and they call you ugly, you can't make it without me, blah blah blah, and then somebody says, how can you? Why are you staying? How can you do this? Then you question yourself. You now put these people who are trying to help you, but in the way that they're helping you, it makes you think that there has to be something wrong with me then. You see, so it doesn't help. I think and I know you didn't ask the question, but the way to help
it's
somebody,
okay, because it's helping us learn. You know, because sometimes if you've never been in that situation, you don't even know. It's kind of like when somebody loses somebody in the family, and then you're telling them it's gonna be okay. No, it's not gonna be okay, and you don't understand what they're going through. Same thing here. What an abusive woman has gone through, or even an abusive man has gone through, the rest of us are not going to be able to understand. And most of the time we probably say the wrong things because we don't know, and because we don't understand the ins and outs of it. So you are educating us, so go ahead.
Yeah, that particular statement, at least for me and a few other people that I've talked to, that statement actually does the exact opposite of what you intended to do. I think the way to go, if there's somebody that you suspect or you know for a fact is in an abusive relationship, your role is to be supportive. Say, hey girl, I am here for you. Whatever you need, I am here for you. If you need a place to stay, if you need this, so that you're giving me an out. And you're not making me question myself. So be there for them emotionally. Let them feel that they can come to you and talk to you about it without you judging for one, and without you telling their business to other people. There's this stigma that I don't want people to look at me and go, oh my gosh, you know. So if you can be that safe haven for somebody, then you are able to help them transition from the situation that they're in into their own life of being away from their abuser.
Okay. Is it okay to then to encourage somebody? You know, let's say for example, when you fracture your collarbone, you know, is it okay for me to tell you, Audrey, sweetheart, get out of it? You know, come and live with me. Is it okay to say that? Would that be offensive?
It depends on the response, because it's like, do I know that I need to get out of that situation? I do. It's not that I don't know I need to get out of it. It's I cannot get out of it. And there are a number of reasons why I believe in that moment that I cannot get out of it. It is not, you think it's not good for my children to grow, you know, in a single it's not. There's so many reasons that we tell ourselves that we need to stay, despite there's a part of you that clearly knows you need to get out. So it's the way, and there are many ways to skin a cat, as they say. What I think works is just being supportive and saying, when you get to that point where you've had enough, I am here. Because I have to, as the person in the abusive relationship, or the same way with any other problem, you know, somebody who is in a addiction problem, until they themselves decide, I have had enough. It doesn't matter what you guys say. It doesn't matter how. But if you're there, and I know, okay, if I do say today is the day, Janet, Jane, or whoever is there, and I can then transition. Another thing about abuse, people in abusive relationships, the minute you leave, that's when you're in most danger. And I think we know that. We when you tell your abuser, I'm going to leave, the wrath in his eyes just tells you, oh, I better never say that again, or I better never think of that again. So there's the fear of leaving, that if I do leave, he will come find me, he'll come chop me up into pieces, put me in a trash bag, and go dispose of me somewhere. So there's the fear of what will happen if I do leave. So they have to, as if you're in a situation like that, plan, put your money aside, plan when the abuser is not home, never leave when he's right there, and get as far as possible. Let other people know. So you have people, your sister's keeper, somebody who knows that I am going to leave, and he's going to call you first, and you're going to be like, I don't know. But you have to have a plan. If you're in a situation where you have looked into his eyes and you know he can actually kill you, have a plan. You can't. You just can't get up and leave. It's because you know it could be the end of you. Yeah, it's so complex, and for somebody who's not been in it to think you just get up and go. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. No, it's not. Okay. It's not.
So tell us, how is an abuser manipulative? Because this is a term that comes up a lot. Every abuser is so manipulative. You know, like, how did he manipulate you?
And again, I might differ from others. I can't pinpoint to where he manipulated me. I don't know what it is he said or what it is he did that made me believe I needed to stay. I blame our culture more than I blame my abuser. If our culture allowed us as women to just be able to get up and leave an uncomfortable situation, if I think I'm in danger, people say, umacha bwanako.
Right.
You know, so for me, the pressure to stay was not so much from him. It wasn't so much from him manipulating me in any way. And I'm not saying he didn't. But I am not going to, I cannot sit here and say he manipulated. I can't pinpoint it. And because I cannot pinpoint it, I am going to go to the thing that I know for sure kept me there, which was, how is my community going to view me? And how we have talked about those people who've left their marriages, how we've put the blame on the woman. And I have been part of those conversations, you know? I think inadvertently, we have talked about people and say, man, amacha mzee wake. You know, and we put the blame on her, and it's just the way our culture, that's just how it is. And to me, that was the one thing that kept me there more than anything, is I am expected to be a certain way. I'm expected to bear this as a good wife.
All right. If you can just, you know, anybody that's probably watching today, they're still scared to get out, you know, or they already got out, you know, whatever the situation, how would you advise them?
I would say it's okay. You have permission. You have my permission, if it makes any difference, but you have the permission of society to leave. Your obligation is for your life. Your obligation is for that of your children, the well-being of your children. God gave you your children. You're the stewardess. You are the person who God said, I am giving you these children, if you have children. And do not expose them. Do not make the life that you're living their norm, because trust and believe, if they grow up in that situation, they're going to think it's okay in the future for them to be in that situation. So you have permission. You have permission. I think that's what you need to hear again and again. It is okay to leave. You're not less. You're not less. And you're not more by being there. You're not brave by being there. You're brave by leaving. That's the most important thing, is it is okay to leave. I never felt it was okay for me to leave until I was forced to leave. But it's okay to leave. It's okay to leave. There's support. There's a domestic violence hotline that you can call. You have friends. As much as you think your friends and family are going to judge you, they'll be more quick to help you than they are to judge you.
Okay. So can you just tell us, how did he eventually go home? Did that help you anyway? Did that ease your mind, or?
It was hard on the kids. Any child growing up, you know, in a totally different country from their parent, any parent, is difficult. So it was hard on the kids. They've adjusted well. I'll say that they've adjusted well, but it's hard. It was hard on them. He ended up leaving for a very similar situation, but I'm not going to talk about that. It is not my story to tell. But it was something very similar to this. But it was hard for the kids, but I will tell you, it made it easier for me, because at that point it was, I have to make this work. I have got to raise these kids. I don't have anybody that, they're not going to go over to their dads every other weekend. I don't have that. In our minds, we think it's a very false security when there's somebody else, another parent, when you're co-parenting, even if the contribution is very little, there's that, okay, it's not all on me. But at that point, when he was no longer in the country, it was 100% on me. And though I was scared of it in the beginning, it ended up being actually the best thing. I was able to realize I could do it. The one thing I was most afraid of, raising my kids by myself, I actually was able to do it, and it wasn't as bad. They were happy. We were laughing again in the house as loudly as we want. We could be ourselves. So it was a good thing.
So you talked about self-esteem. So you are, came out of an abusive relationship, you know, have low self-esteem. How do you pick up again and, you know, say, okay, now I'm ready to date? you know, you're happily married now. So I mean, like, how did you get to that, you know, to where you feel you're ready, you feel now you can, you know, and do you even feel that, you know, I don't know if I can trust another man, what if it turns out to be the same, you know?
It was bumpy. It was a very bumpy and there's that, I'll be honest, we're allowed to be honest here.
Yeah, sure.
Right after that, I think I was in a completely, it coincided. I lost my sister the same month that I left my husband. Okay. So I was in a complete emotional wreck. As in, if you think it could get any lower, and I think I was at rock bottom. I wasn't able to travel home for my sister's funeral. So I was really in a really, really bad place. I didn't have a job. Before my divorce, we had decided as a family that I needed to be home. And now that I think of it, maybe that was a way of manipulating me. I don't know. I don't want to. But I was home, so I was a stay-at-home mom at that point. But yeah,
it's
sorry.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on. Sorry, I don't want to cry.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's in the past. I'm in a much. I'm really in a good place now. But when I'm actually being physically, I feel like I'm physically back there now, and it's not a good place to be. It's not. And if anybody's there, trust me, where I'm at now, I never thought. One of the things is that I was told, who's gonna want you? Who's gonna want you with your 2 kids, right? You're fat, you're ugly. I couldn't gain weight. You know, after that, I lost so much weight. Gaining weight was a bad thing for me, as in it was being a certain size was equals to ugly, because I was always told you're fat. So I had to be skinny to be attractive. I had to be very, very skinny. But how I got over it, and like I said, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a minute. But let's go back to your question of how did I get bounced back. It was very rough, and because of my emotional state, I think I dated a little bit, but it was all about me. I didn't care about the person. You're just there to make me feel like I'm better. You know, I'm not what I think I am. So the 2 people I dated right after, I think I need to reach out and apologize to them, because I think I was an abusive person in that relationship, in the sense that I did not care about them. It was just, they were just there so that I could feel better about myself. And then I realized I had to heal. I was no good for anybody until I was healed. So that's when I started to search within myself, and that's when I said I needed to find God, and I needed God to completely redo me and completely, I was already broken. You know, I was completely broken, but I needed Him to put me back together. And it was at that point when I said I don't want to date, I don't want anything or anyone. That's when I actually met my husband, and I was like, I'm actually okay. I don't need to be in a relationship.
Right.
When I got to that point, that's when I found, my husband found me. Yeah. But it was a rough road. I was damaged, and I think I damaged a few people along the way, because I was a wreck.
So do you think your husband helped boost your self-esteem?
Mr. Pope?
Your current husband, because you were still an emotional wreck. You know, by the time you're meeting him, you know,
I wasn't. I had actually
by that time
healed.
you had already decided, you know.
So I got my divorce in 2011, and I met my husband in 2017. We've been married a year. Yeah, actually, I met my husband last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had gone through my I don't know who I am phase. I had gone through I think I know who I am. Yes. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm actually an okay person. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. God rebuilt me to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm actually good. And that's when I think God thought, okay, now you can meet this amazing person, and this is what love is supposed to be. This is what I saved you for. And I'm truly blessed in that sense. I'm truly blessed in that sense.
Well, Audrey, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I can see there's a lot of people here that tuned in to Purity Ateku said, you are beautiful.
Thank you.
You're really beautiful. I think you are so beautiful, and you are so courageous to, even tell your story. That you lived to tell your story. To get out of an abusive relationship, it's courage. It takes a courageous woman to do that. And I also want to recognize that, I keep saying this, that it's not only women that get abused.
Yes.
Men get abused too. It's just that men don't talk about it. But I applaud you, and I thank you so much for coming out. So you have something else to say?
One thing to say, sorry, and I know you're trying to wrap up. I wanted to share, Purity, by saying that reminded me of something. Sometime last year, I believe it was last year, I was talking at a women's meeting, and I asked the question, how many people here have been affected by domestic violence, who have either lived through it,
I'm trying to see if there are questions.
Okay, related to somebody who's been through it, or know somebody who's been through it. And in a room of over 300 women, I think there were only 6 hands that went up.
Say that again?
There's a room of about over 300 women, and I asked the question, how many here have been affected by domestic violence? Either have grown up in a home where they experienced domestic violence, were in a relationship, past, present, or know of somebody or related to somebody who has lived through it. My expectation is that every hand would go up. About 6 hands went up. And that reminded me that we still have a lot of work to do. The stigma of domestic violence, so we do not talk about it, which makes people continue to stay in it. I want to tell everybody who's listening, we as a community, we have a responsibility of breaking this stigma, and the way by doing it is by talking about it. It happens. It actually happens. The more we talk about it, the more people are able to come out and actually say, I am a victim, or I am a survivor, and I can get out of it. Somebody gets the courage to get out because they realize they're not alone. When you're sitting in a relationship where you're being abused and you think you're the only one, then it is your little secret. But when you realize it happens and it is not your fault, then you can come out. So we have to do more of this. Absolutely. We have to talk more about it, so that the stigma, we can just break that stigma.
And it's okay to be a single woman.
It is.
It's okay to be a single mother.
Hey, I would not have met my amazing husband if I was still stuck.
It is okay to be a single mother.
It's okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And I just want to tell people out there as well too that we are a community, and we usually help each other out. So if you feel you're in an abusive relationship, please reach out to any one of us. You can inbox Audrey. Definitely you can inbox me and let me know if there's any way we can help you out. We are here and willing to help you. Other than that, you have been watching me, Monicah Kariuki, and Audrey has shared her story. I think Audrey will get a chance to come back and probably chat with you guys after this in the comments. But until next time, thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.